What are we on?
Does that mean we need to send new links on our pages or no?
No, the link should be the same.
Okay, cool.
Well, no, you might need to send new links.
Okay.
It won't hurt if they get to.
So we're live now.
Just about. I don't. It doesn't. It's not showing that it's live.
I think
on my end.
it shows that we're live on mine.
I just got the message.
That we're live. You're good.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. We are
All
live.
right.
We are live.
And Dr. Henry is back.
And I'm back. You see.
That's what we needed. We needed to have Dr. Henry back. So welcome back, Dr. Henry. We are glad to have you back with us. And now we can try all this again. My goodness, guys.
Let's do it,
my
man.
bad. It's my bad. That's why we got to get that production crew. All right, so let's start this over from the beginning. We are live. We're here. We want to welcome everybody back to the Pastor's Round Table. We're excited to have you with us. It's going to take a minute, I think, for everybody to get back on. So let's do that. If we probably need to resend these links out again, everybody. So let's just take a minute and let's send these links out again. Pastor Wade, if you will sing us a song right quick.
They'll never come back.
They'll never come back.
They will never come back.
They're not coming back.
And I did that one time when I was preaching. Oh my goodness.
Oh, you tried to sing?
Boy, did I try to sing.
Oh man.
My family was so kind to me.
Right. Well, listen, one time I had an AY when I was younger, planned a whole AY, had a wonderful concert, and I put myself in the concert to sing. And so I did a duet with this person. And so you don't remember that, Pastor Paul? I don't know.
No, where was that?
It was that, well, should I name the church? The church that we grew up in. Just to say like that. I put myself in the concert to sing, and I thought I did a good job. I mean, the older people were telling me I did a good job, but then there was this 7-year-old child that came up to me at the end, and she said, "You did terrible." I never sung again at church. That was it. I never sung again.
Oh. That's always can be dangerous.
Right.
All right.
But as we get this show together, let me tell you, those of you who are waiting patiently, we thank you so much, because we have a powerful program for you today. We have some of the Adventist influences. Oh, I don't even want to go ahead of our plan, but we have some just powerful Adventist influences that are going to be on our program today that will inspire you. And by the way, please, we need more subscriptions. I think we're at 61, 62, something like that. Just subscribe. In fact, take this time out to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we can get up to 100.
Yeah, and by the way, those of you that have rejoined us from our little mishap before, if you would kind of help us in resending out these links, we'd really appreciate that, because we know folk are looking for us, because they saw us before or saw me before, and now they're still looking for us. So thank you so much for that. All right, so those of you in the Zoom, I put the YouTube link and the Facebook link in our Zoom link there, and we should be good.
All right, we're gonna start from the top again.
There we go. Let's. You I guess you want to show the little video thing again? Intro. Y'all want to do the video again?
Do the video.
Do the video.
Give him the whole show.
You look a little hesitant, Pastor Paul. You're hesitant, man. What happened?
I'm worried about our time. We got our guests sitting there.
Let's
waiting.
Let's get moving.
Yeah.
To the show, and then at the end we do.
Yeah. Let me just do the video thing at the end. The outro thing.
Let's do the video thing at the end. Let's get right into it.
Let's
get right into it.
Let's jump in.
And see, and you know what happened? We have so much power on this show that
work it.
Well, listen, guys. This last week, just what happened to you, Dr. Henry, with the signal. Last week I was in Minneapolis.
Oh, that's right,
I
because
was
we lost you
there
last
to
week.
do a rally with young people, young adults, youth and young adults from the Minneapolis area. 3 conferences: Lake Region, Minnesota Conference, and the Central States Conference. And
Yes, sir.
I'm just going to share my screen, if that's possible. And we want to show you just some pictures as we're talking here of what we encountered. We actually went to the site where George Floyd died.
Wow.
So we were just blown away. Folks were coming, as you will see on these pictures, a number of flowers being laid there. Folks were just coming, all ethnicities, all ages, all colors. People were coming to pay their homage. There were guys, this guy in the green there, I think some of you may have missed it, but the guy in the green there, here he is, was on his knees praying. He was on his knees praying and bowing and praying. I'm not sure who he was praying to or what he was praying for, but he was there in the scene. They have actually closed down the intersection. It's now called George Floyd Avenue and or George Floyd Street. And so they have named it the square right there. They have put up all kinds of places. These are the young adults. We actually made peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and we gave those out freely. I mean, like the leaves of autumn. We had over 600 sandwiches that we gave, a little juice, some candy, and some fruit snacks. And those young people were so excited to just be a part. Folks, we rallied with folks from the community, and they were just giving away food. People just set up a table and start giving away food, just giving away food. Did I say giving away food? They were just giving away food. And people will just drive up, walk up. They will take the food. These are our kids walking up to the square. And as we were walking to the square, they were singing. Oh, man, they brought tears to my eyes as they were singing, "We're Marching to Zion." And it was such a beautiful, peaceful march. If you go to my Facebook page, you will see the live. It's an hour-long live of what happened there. So if you like to see what exactly transpired and hear it, go there. This is a group of the pastors, all the pastors from the 3 conferences who were there and participated in the rally. This is actually on the street. They actually named everybody who has been killed by the police.
Oh, wow.
They put it on the street, and there are more names there than you would even imagine. We only know about 7 or 8 of them that we know we can name off, but that's what they did there in Minneapolis. And this is a setup. It's not a true gravesite, but it's a depiction of all the names of people who died because of police injustice. And so their names are all laid out in this tomb-like looking section there, just a block away from where George Floyd passed away. And so this is his marker there in that presentation that they had there. This is the target that we heard that was burnt down. This is a picture of the target. It's I have to be honest with you. I thought it would be more devastation, but it's mainly on the inside that got burnt down. The outside walls seem to be in place. A lot of places have been boarded up, and then they have graffitied the outside of it. A lot of businesses have their boards, their glass, but still open for business. So this is just driving down Lake Street. This is the police station that burnt. They literally, the police abandoned it and they let it burn, and so that's what that is. And this is the square again as we end the video. The video is coming to an end. So we actually was right at ground zero when it came to the George Floyd situation. And we just give God praise that our young people were able to be to share. We prayed at the site, we sang, we interacted with people, and we gave God praise for what he allowed us to do during the day, and then what they were able to do in terms of healing the city, at least to begin to heal the city.
Amen.
Wow,
Amen.
that's awesome, man. We appreciate you being out there and helping to lead out with that and giving our young people, particularly our young people, a different view of our church than many of us had when we were growing up. So we appreciate your leadership with that, Doc. Thank you.
Thank you. Wow. Well, listen, guys. I know it's the hour is late, but we have a feast today. This is not just a meal; it's a feast.
It's a feast. I think we're gonna be a little long today, Brad.
This is a feast.
All you can eat.
So, Dr. Henry, what is on the table today?
Listen, we are talking to the Adventist social media influencers and how they've been impacting society, especially during this pandemic.
Awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited. I see you got your hat on, Pastor Paul. So tell me,
I got to get
who's
my head
at the table? Who's at the table?
Well, right out of the gate, and we're going to start off with Pastor Icky. Oh, man, he had me do it. Timey. That's it.
Yes,
Icky, there he is. Icky Timey. Icky Timey is the youth and young adult director for the Southeastern California Conference, and he does a show every Tuesday. Every Tuesday is called Tuesday Tea Time. And so what we've been looking at as far as putting this program together is Adventists who are doing something that is regular, consistent basis in terms of a show. And I came across Icky a few weeks back. He was actually interviewing my cousin. We bumped into each other on the Ecamm site. And I have a cousin that sings with Pentatonics. So some of you are familiar with Pentatonics. And he was looking for some background stuff. And I called my cousin. And she might be watching, actually. She normally joins these things, his mom. Oh, did I put that out there? Yeah, well, she sent me some baby pictures, and he was able to use all that kind of stuff on the show. It was really cool. And Icky, we are excited to have you with us today. We're going to hear some more from Icky as we go forward. Then we've got the inimitable, did I say that right? I can't pronounce it, world. The preacher, the pastor, the speaker, world-renowned, Lola Moore Johnston is in the house. If you know anything about the Bloom Conference, you've seen Lola, and we're just excited to have Lola with us today. She is a very much sought after speaker for now. I'm gonna fix this, Lola, because I know how's this gonna sound. Normally we would say for women's conferences, but it's not women's conference. This girl is a preacher. She preaches. So don't invite her just for a women's day or for a women's conference. She will preach your Sabbath school day down, your personal ministry, any of that stuff. Invite her. She is just an awesome woman of God, and she's got this thing that she started off as an event with the Bloom Conference that I know many of you are familiar with, but then that has recently turned into a regular ongoing thing, as I understand it. We're going to hear a little bit more from Pastor Johnston. And then, oh, by the way, I got to throw this out there. Lola is like almost kind of like family-ish, roommate-ish with me. She ended up marrying my homeboy, my hometown. We were roommates at Oakwood. Keith Johnson, I had to throw that in there, Lola. And we were roommates at Oakwood. We were homies in high school and all that kind of stuff. And so I feel like, I don't know if I said this to you, but I'm pointing over here, but I know you're here, feeling like it's family. All right. And then we've got somebody else who's almost like family to me, is all the way from the land down under. We've got Sandra Entermann. Sandra. If you have ever had 3ABN, you are familiar with Sandra Entermann. You've seen Sandra on 3ABN. You may have seen her CDs, or she's a recording artist. She's worked with producers like Adrian Westney and Breath of Life and all of those places. And she is currently in Australia right now, where it is approximately 6:23 in the morning. And she was so gracious to come and join us. And we're going to hear something about her very extraordinary social media presence as we go on, and you're going to be blown away by this. So that's my three. Who's next? You guys have some other folks to introduce.
All right,
Dr. Henry, who's at your table, man?
We are going all the way to South Florida. my friend. In fact, you know what? This is like my family member too, Pastor Paul.
Okay.
Pastor George Fleruimond.
George.
Powerful preacher, innovative, creative. And he is in a show with two other powerful, impactful individuals. We have Shay Crocket, all the way from Huntsville, Alabama. Yes, this man is creative, powerful preacher.
I knew he was going to do it. I knew he was going to do it. I knew he was going to do it.
Innovator. I mean, he is just such a blessing to be around. And then we have the attorney, Anthony Albury, an attorney down there in Central Florida, in Orlando, and just doing. He's
got it too.
Oh, you can't what he said. Well, listen, look, these brothers are reaching. Listen, these brothers are reaching a good, or just a great span of individuals. They have a show that comes on called Kicking It. It's a powerful show. If you watch it, they're talking about social justice. They're talking about a lot of different topics. And so I'm just excited to have these individuals on the show.
Awesome.
Right.
Good stuff.
You have someone else that you invited to the table, Dr. Henry?
Okay, I think that was Pastor Paul's person.
Well, I'll
Younger
take it.
Generation.
We're all together here. But I am excited to be along here to sit among these gurus of social media. With us today, we have a good friend of mine who has been in the game a long time. We worked together in one of the conferences that I used to work at, which I'm not there anymore. He's not there anymore. But I'm just excited to have Pastor Paul Graham with us from Full Circle Ministries. It's a full circle ministry, and he has done so well connecting real life and on screen and stuff. So he's done a good job. He has a program called Boot Camp. And he's for 30 days straight, 30 to 31 days straight. He's on at 5 o'clock doing Bible study with whoever wants to get on. And he has a great following, and he has other ministries. We'll get to it as we get there. But we also have with us another pastor that I connected with when I was serving in another conference, which I won't name at this point. But he is a powerhouse preacher, especially when it comes to social justice issues. And I speak none other than Dr. Jamie Kowlessar he's in Dallas, Texas now. We got a believer. Raise Your Voice is his social justice piece. And he also does another social media post or program called Two Dope Dudes. Come on now. And so I'm just so excited to have him here with me and with us here at the table. And then I want to share with you, this last ministry has been a blessing to me. Another ministry that has been around for many years. This ministry is actually a church. They do a church service, but they do it in such a way that they have such a presence online. I am so happy to have with us their pastor and their PR person. Come on now, Tim and Alan. Dr. Alan and Tim, welcome to the Pastors Roundtable. We got all these believers now. I'm gonna join the crew. That's all I got. It's just a little something here. Adidas. Anyway, we're just so glad to have all of you here, and we just want to let's pray and let's jump right into it. Let's ask God's blessing. Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the Sabbath day. Many of us on this call have preached, have shared this morning, have connected with members, but now we turned our hats on, a different hat on, and we are going to come and share about the other ministry. Now, Lord, bless us, bless those who are listening, bless those who have joined us. I pray, Lord, it will be a great time together. We ask in your spirit to have your way is my prayer in Jesus' name. Amen and amen. Man, listen, before we jump right off, Pastor Paul, if you have, we're talking to those who are listening, if you have someone who needs to be on, you need to tag them right now. Maybe there's a ministry that we didn't have here at the table. Tag them here so that they can be a part. We can catch them in the feed, and we can follow up with them later on.
Amen. Good stuff. So it's going to be a little bit more difficult than it has normally been for us to kind of follow some of the feeds because we're just using a little different program as far as some of your comments, but we're going to do our best. And I know that many of our guests are on today, and they're monitoring some of the Facebook and YouTube feeds as well. So I'm just going to ask the guests, if you guys see some questions or whatnot that you want to respond to, it's going to be hard for us to catch all of these things that are coming in. So feel free to help us out with that. So Dr. Henry, you've got first question to throw out to our guest, man. We're just going to kick it over to you. Wait a minute, I got to say this, Alan. You don't know this, but I know you. I graduated from Forest Lake with Sherry, your sister, in a little while ago. It's good to see you, man. All right, Dr. Henry, you're still muted. Go ahead and unmute, and we'll be able to hear that question.
By the way, Dr. Allen was my teacher at Andrews University, so it's good to see you again. A family ministry cohort. Listen, we want to get started for agreeing to be on our show today. And the first question, everyone can kind of chime in on this. And the question is, what inspired you to begin this form of ministry? You have this ministry, all of you, a specialized ministry that is reaching a lot of people. And I just wonder what inspired. We'll start off with Pastor Johnston. I mean, you have this Bloom ministry. What inspired you to do it? And what is your target audience or your target population?
Well, I'll have to say that my target is in flux now. I was originally planning a women's conference, and I was aiming for young adult women. And so when the pandemic began, then the event that I was holding in Maryland needed to go virtual. And as soon as I started to advertise that I was having a conference for people to bloom, then men started to contact me and say, well, I want to bloom too. So I said, okay, well, I guess we're all going to bloom. That's right. And so I am targeting people who want to learn how to master their potential and how to be faithfully productive. And so if people are struggling with how to be productive and to do what God has purposed them to do, then that's what I am providing. And I realize that now more than ever, people are grappling with what their real purpose is. We've been going to work, we've been clocking in and, getting paid and trying to pay bills. But now we've learned that the jobs that we thought were secure are not as secure as we thought they were, right? The things that we thought were integral, like going to church and being in the building and having someone lock up and all that kind of stuff, we thought we needed that. But now this is a new season. And so I believe that God is actually allowing the church to move into purpose. And I want to be part of what God is doing. So that's why I started my program, the Bloom Conference, and now Bloom Thursdays, where every week I inspire people to follow what God has purposed them to do.
Oh, excellent, excellent. Hey, let's throw it to Kicking It. All right, Kicking It. I mean, you got a good program too. You're reaching a maybe even a different. Tell us, what inspired you? What inspired you to do this? And
I don't know who's going to take it. Shay, you got it?
Yeah, I'll start off. Man, I started off working. Me and George, we would work summer camp and in the youth with the young people of Southeastern Conference. I think somebody has a little feedback. But whenever I would wear my shoes, the young people always talk to us about the kicks. So I just realized, man, I can use sneakers as a white flag. This is a safe place. And you can talk to us about whatever's going on. And from there, this just kind of took off. We delayed it, we held back, but now here we are.
Yeah, I mean, you basically covered it, and I think additionally, what we wanted to start at least, has morphed because of just different circumstances that we find ourselves in. And literally now, what we hope to provide and seek to provide for our core audience is just a safe place to be able to come and to talk and to converse about, current events, and to try to give them positive actionables on how to move forward and how to deal with certain circumstances that they are facing. So that's one of the things that we try to be as relevant as we can be to our audience, at the same time as well as trying to lift up Jesus. That's what we're called, kicking it 316.
I like it.
Yeah, George, I'm curious. What's the 316 part? How can you elaborate on that just a little bit more for us?
So definitely, all three of us at a time or another, we're all pastors. AJ, myself, and Crocket, Shay, and a part of what we want to do is we want to be relevant, but at the same time we want to give our audience inspiration. We want to elevate their minds to the gospel, and not necessarily having to come out of the biblical narrative, but we can find inspiration in various of ways. But the 316 just basically talks about the fact that we believe in Jesus Christ as our Lord and personal Savior, and that to a man and to a woman, that all of us, that is our only way of being saved. And so what we do is we try to interweave, spiritual themes within our shows. And so that's basically kind of like a synopsis of that, Anselm.
Awesome.
Wow. Well, listen, let's ask I've known him for a good while. Pastor Paul Graham, tell me, Full Circle Ministry has been around for a while. What inspired you?
Can I be straight?
Yeah, I'm always straight.
There's nothing going on. I mean, I know who I'm talking to.
Yes.
So it was not. Come on, man. Nothing was really going on. It was really difficult to try to keep those young youth and young adults together. We found that our kids were leaving church and just going to parties afterwards. There were no real set activities. And my brother at that time was doing gospel concerts and things of that nature. And I just said, look, why not use my platform to get these young people doing something? And so we began to just put activities together that's going to keep youth and young adults, active inside instead of outside. And so God really pushed that thing to the next level, really went to the next level. We recognized that Friday Night Live, which was there at in the New York area, has expanded so many different places at this time.
Right.
But of course, God was in it. Once you have a place for young people and young adults to be, then you're giving young people and young adults a place to thrive. And that's where Full Circle Ministries came from.
Awesome. Excellent. Listen, Icky, you're there in the conference.
Ew.
You got the back end of the church. Share with us what happened, what brought out, what got you into this thing called social media.
Okay, so first of all, I just want to make a quick correction. I'm from Southern California Conference because I don't want either one of those conferences calling me on Monday.
I keep telling them that. They keep putting you in Southeastern. I don't know why.
My bad.
Yeah. So obviously we worked with senior youth and young adults, and this is like breathing for young adults. Millennials, Gen Zers, they were born and grew up with social media as part of their life. So I'm Gen Xer, which means I was pre-internet. And you all know what those primitive days were like. So we had to learn a lot of this, but for them, it was like learning to walk. It was a part of their life. And I was going around having Roma with other people around the community, kind of videoing that. And when COVID hit, it was like, we need to do something in the digital space that creates sacred space without making it feel real heavy. And so they're like, hey, let's do this. And I was like, okay, let's go. But as is with like technology, if you weren't born into it, you're kind of, you walk really timid, like, you know, like when you go to the pool and you haven't quite learned how to swim yet. So you don't want to get in the pool. You're like, I got to fold my towel first. You know, I gotta, you know, tie my shorts, and all the while, those who know how to swim is already in the water. Like, come on, get in.
Yeah.
And so COVID has been really positive in that sense, that it helped push us into the pool and get moving forward. And I think that was a great thing.
Awesome
stuff.
Good stuff there. Good stuff there.
And listen, I was going to say, pass away, Sandra. I mean, from Australia. I want to get to Sandra. By the way, what time is it in Australia? I'm just curious to know what time.
Oh, it's like 6:40 in the morning.
Oh.
Wow.
Well,
It's all good.
This just proves your love and dedication for us. So we praise God.
So Sandra, I want to set this up before you answer, because I think your answer is going to be a little surprising once we set this up. So what we know is that you're using social media to do something, and I'm going to let you tell us what that is. But you're using social media for a program, and I watched one of the videos that you did, and you're pulling like at times over 20,000 people per half-hour slot that are watching, and they're engaging from 30 different countries around the world. Now, some of us here, we've got some very interesting programs as far as talking and talking about all kind of stuff. What is it that you're doing and that's pulling that, and how the base question, and what made you want to start doing it?
Well, interestingly, I am a Facebook user, but I didn't have Facebook on my phone. And then COVID hit, and I thought, oh dear, I better get this app. Better use this, because everything's turned online, you know, and was doing a lot of content for our church, you know, on Facebook. But the truth of the matter is, I was just, whilst 3ABN viewers will know me as a soloist, I really don't enjoy solo music mostly. I sing, you know, with my musicians sing background. I'm used to harmony, and I'm an alto. I just love to sing and love to harmonize. And COVID-19, I was not going to last. I just wasn't going to last if I'm just stuck by myself and not being able to sing. So once we were allowed to have, you know, two visitors in your home, whatever, I went to my family and I just like, I miss singing. I'm coming over for Friday night sing along. And so it was just to go and have worship with them and to sing and to connect and have harmony. And I thought, well, surely there's other people who are feeling isolated and just missing music, because on Friday nights they're usually, you know, at choir practice, or they're at their worship band, you know, practice, or they're singing, you know, in churches, which they're not able to do anymore. And so I just went live on my own Facebook page, and I'm still just doing it live on my own Facebook page. It's not a public page, it's not a musician page or anything, it's just my page, but I set it to public. So I set that feed to public, and people, bless them, they type it in their favorites and they share it, and ministries share it. And there's, oh goodness, I think it's about 60 countries around the world now that are and they're all worshiping with each other. They're saying hi to each other, and it's just really special. They're singing with you know, we can't hear them, but they're singing with us and choosing the songs. So that's why it's making it very interactive. You're getting their old favorites.
Wow.
So
Alan, really, it's not about me. Let's make that really clear. If it was just me, I would not be getting the views. It's making sure you've got good harmony and at least a musician who can play anything by ear.
I'm sorry, it's all about you.
So Alan, let's bring Alan in on this. So Tim, so what Sandra's doing, she's not preaching. She's not doing a Bible study. This isn't a church service. She's just sitting around singing some hymns. I mean, it's not, I mean, it might be on the verge, Sandra, I'm going to mess with you a little bit. It might be on the verge of contemporary Christian-ish, but not so much-ish. It's just
it's
hymns.
Old school stuff. It's old school. It's all like the old AY type stuff and hymns that people don't hear so much anymore. Maybe that's the catch.
Yeah, well, maybe so. But now you guys are doing like the full, tell us, what are you doing at Younger
service,
Generation Church? My understanding it's like full service thing, full church experience. When did you guys start? What made you start doing it? How's it going?
Yeah, thank you so much for having Tim and I as part of this great group of folks. And hello to all of you that are out there. Younger Generation Church actually started a decade and a half ago when the Adventist Church, Arlington Adventist Church in North Central Texas, decided, hey, we need a place where young adults can curate a worship experience for their peers. So it started off as this kind of contemporary service that young adults were doing back before we had all of the acumeness that technology allows us to broadcast on. But about a decade ago, our senior pastor said, as opposed to going towards full production evangelism via TV production, at that time we had close affiliations with Faith for Today, we're going to go on the internet. And so since that time, YG has been online. So when COVID hit, many of our churches, and you've probably seen this, many of the churches didn't know what the internet was or thought it was Adventist online or CompuServe or something. I don't know what they thought it was. They just didn't know what to do with worship experiences, but we had been on as a vibrant young adult ministry for about a decade already. And so many of the folks.
Tim has never heard of CompuServe. He was born in I'm not gonna say.
Oh, that is so cold, man. That is so cold. And so during COVID, what really happened for us is that people that were familiar with us started sharing with their friends that this is a place where you can worship. And Texas is a little bit wild, wild west. So although some churches were closing down and not doing their services, we were still able to maintain our online presence, of which Tim was very much a part of.
I actually, I'm from the Northwest, Washington State, and I remember being in high school and looking at social media, looking at Facebook. I found a group, North American Division Youth and Young Adult Advisory. And of course, anybody on social media in my generation knows the name Alan Martin because there's no pastor who posts more than him.
Salty fish.
But it's a good thing. But anyway, I remember being like, wow, in Texas, there's this super cool church. Like they have cool music, they have cool preaching, they have a lot of excitement. It looks like a church where people are really engaged with one another. And then a few years later, all the way from Washington State down to Texas, I got a call to come down to Texas to work at Southwestern Adventist University. And little did I know that I would be living 20 minutes from this church. So I moved on down. I came and visited just a couple days after moving. And sure enough, everybody was super cool. Like they were all strangers to me. I was strangers to them. But on that very first day, they brought me into their family. There was a social event that night for young adults specifically. I was welcomed into there. And it just feels like it's been such a God thing, all starting with social media that brought me in here. And now I have the opportunity to be part of this team of young adults as we get to share the love of God with so many people, not only here in North Texas, but throughout the world as we stream our services and use social media.
Awesome. Our final ministry who is here with us, two dope dudes. Two dope dudes, and raise your voice. Pastor Jamie Kosaka, share with us what inspired you, man. What got you going?
Yeah, thanks for having me on here. And I think what inspired me is everybody on this call right now or on the Zoom chat. Raise Your Voice is my nonprofit organization, and it's actually two really dope dudes, right?
Oh,
so,
okay.
Okay.
So
do the really.
Yeah, that's right. Emphasis on the really, right? So
Yeah.
So what we want to do is just basically talk about topics that we don't ordinarily discuss in church, and just anything or everything that's happening, with the current events, especially around justice and inequality. Like that's my passion. See my T-shirt. I'm a 7-day activist.
I love it.
So that's what Two Really Dope Dudes is about. It's just live chat, and we talk about everything. We had an episode about marijuana and legalizing marijuana. To see, I knew Paul would like that.
Stop it, Paul.
So we discuss everything and anything that's under the sun. So that's what we do. So Two Really Dope Dudes.
Wow, awesome, man. We have, I've seen and heard about the ministries, but to hear you all share your story and what influenced you, man, it is rich. It is truly rich.
Yeah, I wish we had more time to really dive into some of this background stuff. Yeah. So, Pastor Wade, we're going to transition to another question here out of this. We've covered everybody. What's next? What's up?
Well, in light of the fact that we're in the middle of a pandemic, what impact do you feel that your ministry has had on your viewers, especially during this time? Anyone can answer this. Don't feel, whoever shouts out first gets it. What impact has your viewers had during this pandemic?
If I can speak for we kicking it now that my mic is finally, everything is working for me.
All right.
I think for us, just as I said earlier, using sneakers, a lot of people, it's a huge culture, the sneaker culture. And then for people to be, not be able to go out to the stores and see sneakers and everything like that, just having a group of guys that's coming talking about sneakers. And not only do we talk about, sneakers, of course we get into other things, but to start the show off talking about sneakers, reach out to that community that's always looking for more information about sneakers, when the sneakers are coming out, how much they're going to cost, things like that. And so we bridge that gap, and then we take them down the road into social justice issues, into spirituality issues. And I think, us being this active now in a time when people can't get out into stores and go to big conventions like the sneaker cons that people are used to going to, we bridge a gap now that people aren't able to, normally get that they're normally able to get their hands on.
Awesome. With even when we introduced y'all, my son texted me saying, I love the sneaks. I mean, he's already excited just from the interaction. So I thank you guys. Thank you. Someone else, what impact are you having on your viewers?
Hey, can I say something right quick to that, to AJ, what AJ said? Last week we had, we were still kind of following this idea of social media stuff, and we had on Justin Cole and Gary Saunders.
Yeah.
And one of the things that Justin mentioned to me that was just so profound to me was that in the context of social media or media ministries and digital footprints, that same thing that we've been saying to our people inside of our buildings, we putting that quote out of the ministry of healing. The Savior mingled among men as one who desired their good, ministered to their needs, won their confidence, and then bade them follow me. He's saying, look, we can do the same thing in social media. We feel like every time we get on social media, it's got to be a sermon, a Bible study, something that is a word. But we still, in this arena, we still have the opportunity to mingle with people as one who desired their goods. And so that approach that you guys are using with the sneakers, phenomenal. It just, and so kudos for that.
Someone?
And so you raise a really good point there. I know with what I'm doing, when I started out, a lot of my Facebook friends aren't Adventist or, aren't Christian. And so whilst it's become this big Friday night Vespers that a lot of Adventists are tuning into, and we're, happy Sabbath, so-and-so, happy Sabbath. I'm intentionally thinking about the viewers who have very different worldviews. And so it's just a lovely, relaxed atmosphere that I can share what the Sabbath's about, share with them what that looks like in our homes and why we keep the Sabbath. And, a lot of them are typing in, prayer requests, they've been diagnosed with COVID-19 or rough times that they're going through, and just to know that we can pray for them during that sing along, just to stop, pause, pray for that situation, that we're with this worldwide body of believers. We're getting that little Vesper feeling, but as they share, they know that their non-believing friends, can watch and be learning and understanding what about their faith, is different and unique. So it's just we're trying to be intentional about that audience as well and meet that need.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Lola, I think you shared with us that you were going to have an actual event and then you had to go virtual. And then that even changed because now your demographic has changed. What impact are you seeing from those who follow you?
We're having a conversation that people haven't really had time to have. And that is not just what do you do to feed yourself, but what is it that you're really made to do? And with that conversation, we've had tremendous community. I love what Sandra is doing for the same reason, that there are people who have never seen each other, never met one another, but because they are passionate about what God has created them for, they are meeting people and connecting with people and forming real bonds. And so now we're already talking about how we're going to get together after COVID-19 because everybody is connecting with one. I mean, it's a wonderful way to build community around something that people feel passionate about.
Awesome. Yeah. I'd love to chime in behind Sandra and Lola. You know, what I've seen is that we've curated this community of people who ordinarily don't hear pastors or people talk about social justice, inequality, and injustice biblically. You know, like how do you use the text to respond to what's happening in this world? And so we've seen so many people who have been texting me and who've been just sending me messages saying, thank you. These are thoughts that I've had in my head for a long time, and I didn't know how to reconcile them, or I didn't know. So it's like a different angle of our faith that we just want to talk about, you know, the importance of what's happening to us as humans. And how does God want us to react to that? And what is God saying about that?
Oh, wow. Paul, Pastor Paul, you have another question I think we need to get to in light of the time that we have here.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So yeah, here's something that I think perhaps all of us have had some struggles with along the way. And that is this, and this is very curious, and it's particularly for those people who may be considering doing some sort of a social media ministry themselves. We've got individuals in our churches who've thought about doing something on their own. We've got ministries, different ministry departments who've thought about doing something. And so I'd like to know from you guys, what are the things that you know now that you are well into your ministry that you wish you would have known when you first started? What have you learned along the way that you said, man, I wish I had known that from the beginning? And what would you say to anybody else who's interested in starting some sort of a social media ministry at this point? Again, anybody who wants to take a stab at that, go for it.
If you don't mind, let me take a stab at that. A Restoration Praise Center has been doing online because I've been working with Gary Saunders for maybe 12 years. Almost, or a little over 12 years now. It is really important to recognize for me that this is not a competition. I think too often when we play the game of, I'll say this about Lola. Once I saw Lola was doing that, I needed my women's ministries to jump into that immediately, 100%. And not to mention, I just also feel like from my church, we give them places to go to. So you want to understand more about social justice? Here is where you can go. So we send people to different places because I can't handle social justice. I'm being honest with you. That's not my forte. I know how to stand up for justice, but that's not my forte. I also believe that some of the things that I've learned is not to buy into how many likes you have, and recognize that you're reaching who you can reach. Somebody told me one time, why do you have 5 different platforms when you're doing Bible boot camp? Because there are 5 different, because people need to be reached all over. So it was said to me, why don't you have one platform so people can see that you have 700 people or 800 people that watching at one time? And I'm like, that's not important to me, but it took me a while to get there. I'm being real with you. It took me a while to get there. So what was exciting for me is seeing all those numbers kick off. But then I realized that was a Paul Graham show. You understand what I'm saying? So one last thing is what I wish I would have learned before was not to get stuck in the numbers game. Okay, we got through that, and you remember, Wade, we got through that in Northeastern. How many people you baptized? Now it's pushing to how many likes do you have? I encourage my people at my church, go and check out others. You can always come back because we connect with each other. You understand where I'm coming from? But get something somewhere else and then come back. It'll be fine. It's recorded. Do you understand where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
So one of the biggest things for me is this is not a competition. It is not about the likes. And for people who have churches, this is not the time to be tele-evangelists. This is the time to connect to your church. So when it's opened up again, then they have seen you every week, not everyone else. So I've learned to be humble. That's what I'm going to be. I'm being clear. I'm going to learn. My thing is I've learned to be humble in this whole game.
Interesting how we those numbers, they're really just subtle spiritual narcissism, isn't it?
Our Lord.
Like, how's your ministry doing usually means how many in your numbers you got. And we translate that. We see that in the regular secular world, in the real world with our kids, as they're like hoping to get more likes on a picture. And if they don't get that like on that picture, all of a sudden their heart is broken, like they've just lost a loved one, right? And we do that as well. I really appreciated that what you said there, Paul, because it really isn't, you just stay in your lane and do what's right. That's how you build out audience. For one of the things for me that I think would have been great from the kickoff was to just get started. Yeah. You know, I use that analogy of like getting in that pool. Sometimes we be messing around because we just scared to get in, right? Like I'm making excuses. Well, the light, I need to buy this nice light and I need the right camera. I need the studio. I'm in my children's room right now. If you guys could see what's happening around here, you'll be scared. Just get on it. If you got a phone, put the phone to use and start rocking out content, because you grow, you evolve, you change, you add pieces on, you learn, and it gets better, but don't wait till everything is right. I think it's what is it, Proverbs or Ecclesiastes, where it says a farmer who watches the clouds will never harvest. If we keep looking out till everything is just right, it's never going to be just right. Just get rocking, go.
I think I agree with Pastor Timmy. It's awesome what you said, because even for us, we wish we would have started much earlier. We had this thing on the back burner for months, and for even a year, and I think what made us take the jump literally was because of the coronavirus, and we realized, okay, this is an opportunity to add our voice to this consortium of voices, Adventist voices, mind you, who are out there putting out content for those who are on social media. So I think that was something that we wanted to do as a group. And additionally, I think for me, what I've learned is that in terms of just being overtly critical, because you're putting out content and you're trying to be creative, and I'm blessed and humbled to have two guys with me that when we have our debriefings and I dog myself out over the production, and they can say, man, do better next time, So I think I think that at the end of the day, just doing the best you can, and as I think Pastor Paul said, definitely trying to make sure that you understand that your show isn't for everybody, but it'll reach those that are needed to be reached. The content that you have is specifically tailor-made for someone, and that brings us kind of comfort and fulfillment.
Yeah.
That's it.
As a young person in a ministry, like I feel like a lot of times we're like ministry is a sprint, but I think that I'm always learning like in a new way that, we're in ministry for the marathon. And if we try to sprint and get to the finish line, we're not going to be in it for the long run. And we have to keep this going until Jesus comes. And we don't know where that finish line is, even though we know it's soon. But when we're able to just think about it as a marathon, that's something that's really helped me to just pace myself. And I think I'm learning a new element of that.
I absolutely agree. I think my advice is what I wish I took. I used to do another show called Justice Speaks, and I wish that I kept doing it. And I just want to emphasize how consistency is pivotal.
Yes.
And like they said, don't look at the numbers. If it's just one person, that's one follower that's looking to hear what you have to say. And be prepared to wake up. Paul, you up at 5 a.m. Everyone is here. Sandra's at that time. Lola, all of you. You have to be consistent and just turn on the camera, turn on the microphone, and stick to it. It'll pay off in the long run, because it's easy to just be like, no, I don't feel like doing this today. But people want to hear you. People want to see you. People want to know what you have to say. So that's like everything that everyone said, and consistency.
Yeah, the big thing for me was that I thought I had to figure it out by myself. And I was so appreciative. Paul is a person that I asked to call him, like, dude, I need to figure out this, and this. And it was great to know that people were willing to help if I asked for help. And I think for those of us who are ministers, there is a narcissistic side, as Icky said, that wants to emerge that and show that I built this by myself without help. You know, I did this. But a big part is, if you don't know what to do, ask for help, ask for the pieces to put together. You know, even now I'm in the comments and I'm stalking to see what kind of camera a couple of people have that are right here on this broadcast, because, you know, there are people who have information that you need. The other thing is, somebody is needing the information that you have. And I was tempted not to do anything online, because as a pastor, I get like 4 or 5 different shows that people are doing every day. And I'm like, do I really want to add myself to the noise? But there is a niche market that only you can reach. And until you are speaking what God has given to you, there are people who are starving for that information. So be confident that what God is saying through you is meaningful as well.
I just want to jump in here and say, like, it's purpose. And the truth of the matter is God ain't gonna wait forever for you to do it. He would give that thing, that vision, to somebody else, because there are people who need to hear that message. And even if you see somebody, you know, fulfilling the dream or the vision that God gave you initially, it doesn't mean that you aren't supposed to continue that. I mean, I've sat back and like Joy said, this idea, this concept is years just sitting on the back shelf because of insecurities, because of doubts. And I sat and I watched individuals pop up, and God showed me, he's like, listen, I wanted you to be a trailblazer, but because you sat and you waited, I had to get the movement going. But now's the opportunity for you to join in. So if God gave you the vision, he gave you the dream, he's already put the right people in your circles to just go ahead and fulfill that dream and that purpose.
Yeah.
Story of the church.
Yeah. And just like this came back to me, as Paul said, it's not competition, it's inspiration. Yeah. So you should be looking at what you see right here and be inspired to get, because there's room. You can't overcrowd the internet. Like you could pack out a church, you can't overcrowd the internet, and you have a voice. So, you know, we're not trying to compete with each other. We're supporting each other. As Lola said, we're helping each other, but I'm inspired. I'm inspired by, you know, just what everybody is doing. And I love to see great content, and we need to hear your content, whoever's listening to this.
And honestly, something as simple, I want to use Alan for example. You know, after I graduated from the seminary, you know, I don't know how he did it, but every year he was able to, you know, wish me a happy birthday. And he, not only me, but everyone, it seems like every day he's sending out birthday wishes on Facebook. And I said to myself, something just that simple, you know, changes your day. You know, that I mean something to someone that I perhaps only met once or twice. You know, to me that was like it was the gospel. I mean, it was awesome. And so I think I try to, in terms of our media platform, you know, the simple things I think that we can do to bring about a change and hope to someone are worth doing, no matter what the sacrifices are.
Here's a fascinating question.
That is so true. I think you brought up a point, if I may answer.
Yeah.
I think you brought up a point, and I want to go back to Alan and Tim at Younger Generation Church. It's a church service, but y'all have created an atmosphere of connection. And even the other ministries that you do, your personal ministries, connect back to Younger Generation. What are some of the things? I know it takes detail stuff. You've got to pay attention to the details. Some people here don't know that your church service is sandwiched between morning worship and another worship service, and it's only that one time. But if you really look at the service, you think that's it, but it's just one of the offerings you offer to the local church there. What are some of the things you do to pay attention to the details that makes Younger Generation so successful? Tim or Alan or Tim?
I think that, you know, a huge element of what we do at YG is like we really emphasize doing life together outside the walls of the church and finding ways to connect and just to make real friendships. And I think that mindset and that mission is really multiplied with our online audience as well. we try to tell a lot of stories about what our young adults are doing in life. You know, what are the high schoolers who are becoming young adults in our church? What are their dreams and aspirations? What are our young professionals doing in their professional lives? And I think that when we're telling the stories of people in our church, we're also multiplying that inspiration to so many people who are watching the service online. But then I think for that to be real and authentic, it really just takes a lot of intention on really doing life together with our members internally.
Awesome.
Hey, here's the secret sauce, friends. You don't wait until they're young adults to start doing young adult ministry with them. You start recruiting them when they're like Melanie's little babies that are in that room with Iki. That's when they start getting a feel that this is a church where they belong and they can do something, and they start to build their voice. And I think that one of the things that we love about our church here at Arlington Seventh-day Adventist Church is that we have to build those intergenerational relationships. We have to have those inter-ethnic conversations. We have to have those multi-gender ways by which we're interfacing with one another, as opposed to putting ourselves in these little silos and hoping that somehow something happens that keeps people in the church. And I love what's happening here, especially with Vespers. I mean, Vespers is just this Adventist thing, and they love it, and they sing these songs together, and it's something that we really, really love. I'm going to just be straight with you, like Pastor Paul. Pastor Paul's giving me some courage. I'm jumping into the pool here. Hey, friends, prophecy only works if you use it ahead of time. So if we're in some back closet saying we've got the truth and this is what's going to happen and so forth and so on, and we're an echo chamber to ourselves, then no one's blooming. Everyone's withering. So friends, I'm just going to say this out here because I don't know where this is going to go. But if you got to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the morning, or if you have to get up in the future like Sandra did, we got to start doing it if we're Adventists. Otherwise, we need to sit down and shut up.
Come on now. Oh my goodness. We need to take a commercial break on that one, but we don't have a commercial break. So we'll just keep going.
Well, a commercial break is the future is really good. It's Sunday morning here and life as well.
My goodness. What are some of the other things you all are paying attention to help your show do what, and I hate to call it a show because it's ministry, to help your ministry make the hook that it's happening? What are some of the details?
Hey, Roger, I'd like to, if we could, just before we do that, there's a question, and people have been asking questions on the YouTube, and I want to kind of get into some of the interaction there. And this is a fascinating question to me, and it comes from Marie Polo, and it says, what possible ramifications will social media ministry have on conferences? If I could add a little, what possible ramifications will social media have on conferences? And if I could add a little bit to that, particularly in the context of what we've seen happening during the pandemic, there's a whole lot of nuances that now, direction that people say, well, some people are saying, well, we can't wait to get back to normal. And there are people like me who were saying, I don't want to get back to normal. Normal was killing us. Normal was hurting us. And I think that social media has played a significant role in, I mean, not significant, it has played the role. I mean, there's nothing else really that we've had. So what is there any ramifications that you guys see that this will have on how conferences operate, on how they do ministry? And I'm going to add, I know she didn't ask this, but at any level, from conference level to union level or to even local church level or pastoral level.
Can I start? I want to start by saying that conferences that have made the pivot are doing great.
Right.
My conference my church has a tithe gain year over year. And all of our ministry is via social media, internet. Our adventurers, our pathfinders are online. Sabbath school is online, and we have a tithe gain. If we make the pivot, we will be okay. And the challenge is that some conferences have not wanted to make the pivot or have not known how to make the pivot. And so if you empower and resource those who are able to do media ministry, which is everybody, then you'll be fine. People are wanting these programs. They are wanting to be able to be spiritually fed from the comfort of their homes in a safe environment.
Yeah.
And if we are meeting their needs, people will, as they have done all the other services, Amazon is doing great. Kindle is doing great. And the church, when the church makes the pivot, she will do great as well.
Right.
If I can add,
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, George.
Yeah, I wanted just to say, I want to kind of just follow up what Pastor Johnston is saying. Like honestly, if you've made that pivot, you're seeing, in terms of pastoral ministry, you're seeing the increase. We've seen it in our tithe gain, but more so, for instance, even in participation. Yeah. We have a segment of people who have been like, and we're not blessed to all be a part of the YG church. In most of our contexts, some of our, there's always a demographic that has been sidelined. And in my context, as fate would have it, COVID-19 forced this generation of people who were waiting to be activated to actually get their hands on ministry. And they've taken this thing to the next level. And I'm telling you, I could never get 50 people at prayer meeting. I'm getting people, on the prayer line or on whatever, that exceed that number. So I'm saying all this to say that I think that social media has opened up the way for us to get this gospel throughout to the entire world. We talk about the Great Commission. Some people are not, I'm just being honest, people are not going to go, handing out tracts. Some people are just not going to do that. But guess what? They'll share a link. They will post a link. And I think that has been, people get tired of me in my church. I tell them when we go live on YouTube in our little WhatsApp group, share, because it's not about the likes, but it's about getting the gospel out to as many people as we can. And so
I was just going to say very quickly, I think it will make the church, as a person who's no longer employed by the church, I can say this freely, it will make the church relevant again. Yeah. Because now we all have to step out and do something other than being in the confines of our own space together, preaching to each other, talking to each other. Now we have to be creative. And in that creativity, we reach millions of people that we never probably would have reached a day in our lives by coming together in the four walls of a building.
Yeah, normal is whack, and we ain't going back. I mean, to be honest, is this right? I feel like it is much more work to put on that show on Sabbath morning than it is to do this. And I feel like I'm having a greater impact with this style of worship and communication than I have had in the church. And as it was stated, I believe that through this avenue, we're reaching more people. The gospel is being communicated. And the other thing too about this is that I love about social media is the ability to interact with those that are watching. When you're at church and you're preaching, it's just one person speaking to the crowd. In this avenue that we have, we can hear what people are saying about what we're saying. And it brings community. And it brings, the disciples would have loved to be able to turn on YouTube and preach the gospel and not have to walk across Asia Minor, to these churches.
Our church spends millions of dollars doing evangelistic series every year, but now it's free because we can just reach everybody online. As you guys were saying, there's no walls anymore. And the cool thing is all those people who would be on the fence to come and visit a church. And I know that we sometimes put our evangelistic meetings at a school, so it's not as intimidating, but those people who would not want to come and be at a church to experience the gospel, now we're putting it right in front of them in a free manner on social media. And evangelism is going to become much more affordable and much more reachable in a way.
Absolutely. Tim is right when he says it's going to be more practical. But I wanted to also respond to Jamie. Jamie, you said something that was very true and real, and I don't know if we recognize why it's true and real about how social media has changed the game for us, because we've moved out of the church building, which has also removed us from a lot of the dogma and the traditional space that we're used to in the way we traditionally communicate with human beings, which is outdated. And so moving into our social media space, it's so new and it's so clean and different that it allows us to look more normal, look more real, be able to communicate in a way that human beings today would much rather communicate, right? So one of the things that we know about social content creating is that you can't just give people something and expect them to take it, which is what we do in church, right? We say, look, you come, you got to get this, and then you're good. Social media content happens when you create an engagement between them. So you want people to comment, you want people to reply, you want people to give us their thoughts and stuff, which, by the way, our chat feed here on the side is lit. I wish all the rest of you public folk could see it. It's been really good. But creating that and having this kind of space where we're talking and we're being real with each other creates more authenticity with those viewership than it does when we're in the church.
Mm-hmm. Let me jump in and ask this question here as we're on this subject. So, wonderful discussion. So, when church opens up, when the vast majority of churches open up, which we hope it will at some point in time, maybe even next year, the presence that we have now on social media, how will that be impacted by the church opening up? Will we see less viewers? Will we see more people in the church? What's your view on that?
Yeah, can I jump in? Like my prayer and my hope is that when we do open up churches, they open up as community centers, response centers, not places that we come to sit down and hear the same music and hear the same sermons, that we come together as a people that want to serve the community. That's my desire to see. Like, I don't want to go back into the building to do the same thing. You know, normal is whack. We can't go back. We need to go forward and do something different. That's my desire, because churches, like, if your community, if you ask them, would you rather have a church or a Chick-fil-A? And they tell you we prefer a Chick-fil-A, we don't need to be opening up our doors. we need to really reassess what we're doing, because they're saying that Chick-fil-A will serve my community better than your church.
My Lord.
Wow. And what I want to see is that our churches, you know, have maybe like a 1 week celebration, but three Sabbaths out of the month, we're just serving the community. We're just letting people come in, feeding people, doing free, dental care and those sorts of things. And the same things that Jesus did, that we could exercise that inside the building.
Can I add to that, Jamie? I'm glad that's my classmate, that's my boy. But I wanted to say this to Pastor Henry, and again, as my senior pastor, I'm not going against what you said. But I want to make a case of the church. The church has never closed. You know, the church isn't closed. The building has been closed. And so for me, when we talk about reopening the building, I want to make sure that I let my people and my congregation know that we have now at our disposal a greater ability to reach more people, number one. And number two, as Dr. Kowlessar said, for us to be able to, one of the things that I think that we have misrepresented the need of the building was for the fellowship. That sense of fulfillment that you get for fellowship, you also get when you're doing ministry. And so as Dr. Kowlessar said, to have that once a month celebration, but then throughout the rest of the month, you're out, engaged in hand to hand. I mean, foot on the ground, boots on the ground, actual ministry. I think that we will start seeing a greater sense of fulfillment than what happens only on Sabbath morning, right? Where you have to come and sing a few hymns and sing a few praise songs and, listen to the preacher preach. Listen, I've been crucified for trying to tinker with the liturgy. People are so in the sense of formalism that they forget that, we're here to serve and that we're here to get this gospel out. And so I would just add to that the church has never shut down.
Yes.
Anything we have showed,
I like that.
This new modality of technology has propelled our ministry forward. I'm getting views on my church channel that outnumber. I'm not using views to validate my what I'm saying, but I was just saying.
Just say it, George.
The truth shall set you free.
That I know that the seats in my church aren't able to fill. You feel me? So even when the building opens up and people will have this tendency of trying to go back to the past, I'll tell them what Jamie says. We're not going back to the past, right? Because
come on now.
It's whack. And at the end of the day, that there is a segment of people that we're reaching now that before we had never even reached before. And so I think that the churches remain open, the modality has changed, and I think that we need to embrace it going forward.
Ooh.
And can
Normal
we jump
is
on the
whack.
fact? Yeah, the past is whack, and we are not going back. But look. We also have to have a conversation and recognize that church as we knew it is never coming back.
Say that, Bishop.
That church is not coming. That church is gone. Is gone. When you go back to church, it is going to be a completely different experience. The church that you knew is dead. No choir, no praise. You're not singing any songs. You're going to be six feet from everybody. You're going to be in a mask.
I suppose I better keep going with my ministry then.
Yeah, that church is gone. It is dead. And we have to have that conversation with people, because people believe that they're going back to what they left, and that is dead. And so I think when people recognize that the old church is dead, then you will be surprised at the resurgence of people who would say, well, I would rather stay home and watch it online. I would rather do what we did before. That program quality and what was given then is going to be better, because you're not going to be hugging and kissing on sister so-and-so. Sister so-and-so has pre-existing conditions. She can't take all of that. And so I think that's the conversation we have to have, that this is where we're going. The church being decentralized and only being a place where we provide resources for community, but not just sitting around breathing in air. Our anxiety can't take that. I'm not sitting in a room with 200 people just breathing random air. No. And most people will not. So that's the conversation that we have to have.
Come on, Paul. Come on, Paul.
I know that I've had viewers.
I'm so glad I have this opportunity to speak behind Lola, because my conference is crazy like that. They're just giving each one of us $150 to beef up whatever we need. Okay, I mean straight, every pastor. Okay, and I also want to share that I'm glad for this moment for one reason, that what I was trying to do with my church, now they have to do it. Okay? We had the church set up with groups, and we had no church on first Sabbath of the month, and people were calling me crazy. Why? Because you need to be in your community on the first Sabbath of the month, or stay home. Just stay home. You understand where I'm coming from? What do you mean stay home? Yo, stay home. There's so many people you can watch stay home. There's other churches you can watch stay home. Stay home with your family. Rub up a little bit. Have a great time. I mean, but I just feel like church was so concentrated.
Grow in your church.
Yes, sir.
Was so concentrated that you do ministry outside of the church. And I want to say this, that I do not want church to go back the same way, only because of my humanity. I miss the crowd. Come on, y'all. I miss the crowd. I miss everybody's doing what they're doing, this, that, and the other. But something just happened the other day, and I want to share with you that the daycare from my conference, from my church, decided that they wanted to get a playground. And we said we don't have the money for it. COVID. So I'm the one that said it. And I'm sitting in the car and I'm saying to myself, wait a second. We need that playground. Why? Because we're going to need these kids there every day of the week instead of one day of the week. So now I feel like God is saying, I'm trying to build something so your church will be that community center and not just be that hangout on Saturday. The social media is crazy. Like, I was just listening to Sandra. You talking about 20,000 people listening to her, even in one shot. I'm like, yo, wow. I need to get her, use her, watch this now, get on my Sabbath program, because everybody else that I'm using is getting cut on YouTube and getting cut on Facebook. We got our own resources that we can use instead of trying to go mainstream and get cut all the time. You see where I'm coming from?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry.
Let's be really clear, though. I'm not getting 20,000 people tuning in and sending their requests at the one time. We start small, and then it's the late, people who wake up and it's Sabbath in my part of the world now. So
if you look good, God looks good. 20,000.
So don't mess up his numbers, Sandra. He was good. We're preachers. This is what we do. The fish was this big.
I think it was only one that reached the 20,000. The rest, half that. So let's just
11, 15, 14.
So let me share one thing with you. I've been doing Bible boot camp for 8 years now. 8 years. To consistently get up 5 o'clock every morning, every other month. I wasn't doing it for money or anything of that nature, but everything's on YouTube. Yeah. Last week, 2 weeks ago, I got monetized and I didn't even know. So everything that I was doing from 8 years ago up until now, it's like cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. It's like God saying, be faithful, right? In the little things. And then all these things will come afterwards. I'm sitting back, really, from getting up 5 o'clock in the morning being like, cha-ching, cha-ching. And I'm not saying that I'm doing it for money now, but I'm doing it because I don't want to stop it coming in. I don't want to stop it coming in. All I'm saying is that here are you guys as resources. I don't have to speak every Sabbath. I can actually take Lola's sermon. I can actually take, George's sermon. I can take Jamie's, some of them, and I can use on a given Sabbath. And watch this. After the sermon, I can come in and begin to have a conversation with my church about what you heard. I'm still there.
Yeah.
Yes,
I'm still there.
Yes.
So I just think it's about being more communicative. It should never go back to being the same, but it's going to take Paul Graham being humble enough to say, I'm not going to see that crowd anymore.
That's always been my thought, that going back to normal, there are going to be some folks who are going to be totally surprised when they walk into church. The friends they thought would be there won't be there. The program is going to be like, this is too slow. This is not grabbing me. A whole lot. And a lot of our churches are not going to be ready. They're not going to, because they're going to come back with the same old traditional thing. And people are going to say, that is whack. We ain't going back.
Wow.
Yeah, I tell you, Anselm, I was just the amount of people who are asking, please keep doing this even once we go back. And I'm thinking, okay, but if we go back to some sort of structure that was similar to Friday nights are often a busy time for people who are heavily involved in the programming for the next day. And I'm thinking, I don't know that I can promise that, and if I can't get a couple of people to sing and a musician, from the family or my close buddies, I can't promise it's going to be every Friday night, but I see that there is a need when you think of the praise and worship phenomena that has swept the world. And then there's a bunch of people who they're in churches that are not singing the music that they know. It's like a performance. It's not engaging. They're all of a sudden finding that, I know these songs and I can sing along and I can even choose them. And I think, there's a need here. There's an actual need here. And when I go and worship lead at conferences or camp meetings or sessions, I've chosen the songs. I might have asked my music buddies what songs, we want to do. But now I'm getting all of these songs that I forgot existed. I'm getting an arsenal of music of just brilliant. And some of it's modern, but a lot of it's the old stuff that people are feeling like their voice is being heard. They're getting to sing their favorite because this was my dad's, favorite before he passed. Or, it's just really, I need to listen to them and realize that there's a need here. They just want to sing. They just want to sing.
Yep. And I know in our conference, we've been talking about this heavily because I know the question was how is social media going to be affected once our church opens? But the conversation we've been having across our conference with senior officers and all of our departments is that church is not going to go back to the way it was. It just can't. We've crossed the precipice, with having been forced to cross it, and there's no way for us to turn back. The sea is closed up behind us. What are we going to do? And I think the awakening that we've at least had down here is that the way we've been doing church is really methodology, and we've confused it for the eternal, immovable God kingdom. And now that we've been moved from there, we realize, oh snap, it was just methodology. It was a way that we were mobilizing a church in the modern world, but it's not the way church is. Like my man said earlier, the church has left the walls, right? This is what church is. In the book of Isaiah, God speaks to the people and he says, your Sabbaths are detestable to me. Your assemblies are worthless to me, but seek to do justice, defend the oppressed, and learn to do right.
Come on,
you see what I'm saying here? There are too many churches across America right now who are more interested in opening their service, their production back up, more than they are about the loss of life that is happening across America.
The mic dropped.
My friends. So, you know, we are recognizing there's a shift in the modern production of church, and there are deeper things that we've got to care about. And I think the church is beginning to awaken to that, hopefully.
Let the church say amen.
One of our commenters who following us on the YouTube side shared that we have to remember that the church is the foundation for people who need to still be able to come together. The media and the technology is a tool to be used for the church. So although I don't want people to get it crazy that we are saying this takes the place, but we are now at a point where this has to become the forefront in the tool box for ministry. Whereas in the past, I remember when I first introduced internet service to my church, they looked at me and said, "Why are you spending that money on it? Or we don't need that." And we, you know, that's not important. But now it is seen as one of the key things you need to have along with what else you're doing. So we have to make sure we put the priority in the right place.
There's a comment here, Pastor Ball. Let me just read this comment and let you go. It says some churches should sell and merge together with another church for building usage, or they can buy a building together for emphasis on service to church and outer community. I just had to read that. Go ahead.
Yeah. Hey, and that's exactly where I was going. I hadn't seen that comment, but I wanted to just drill down a little deeper. I know our time is up, but this is just rich, and I know you got, and that is, I'm curious to see how you guys feel about, or how you all feel about how this is going to impact the resources of the local churches and the local conferences. Because when we talk about ministry in decades past, Dion, when you and I came into the work, we came in together. We would sit in workers' meeting, and you know, half of workers' meeting would be pastors kind of growling at administration because they didn't have evangelism money, they didn't have building fund money, they didn't have, and they were asking and money. You know, we needed resources. Is there anything about what's happening right now when we're seeing jobs disappear, when we're seeing unemployment skyrocket, 14.7 million people, or 14.7 rather, unemployment rate in North America as a month ago? I don't know what it is now. How is this type of ministry that we're doing, is that going to have any impact on resources for local churches and for conferences?
I think that it's an opportunity. I mean, I'm looking at technology has not only given us this platform of social media, but lately, especially in this decade, we are seeing a surge in crowdfunding. You're looking at, for instance, I want to call out we've had the Bloom Conference, and we also had the Quarantine Revival. And I don't know that they receive an allocation from any conference. And I would hasten to say that in the midst of their revival, and literally they crowdfunded within that organism, you know, and people were being blessed left and right. And so I think that that old refrain, as you would say, of the pastor at workers' meeting who's griping about not getting the money that the other person got for evangelism. Listen, we have this opportunity now to make things happen with social media and technology that is considered, I can't say the word, it is much cheaper, let me say it that way, than the traditional way of doing evangelism. I remember when I first came into the ministry, and I was spending, you know, all kinds of conference funds on things that now make seem very trivial. And so, you know, I just hope that we can move forward and take the ministry to newer heights.
I'm gonna jump right
Bad
in
boy,
here.
George, if you
I'm-
could come
I'm-
into the conference and be spending all kind of conference funds when you come in, I want to be like you when I grow up, man.
I came in as an intern. I came in as an associate pastor.
I want to jump right. I want to jump right in here, because we really don't. The church doesn't have a choice,
right?
Like if you don't invest in technology, you are going to be left behind. I mean, just ask Blockbuster.
Come on now.
I mean, there's a generation that doesn't even know what it's like to go into a Blockbuster and pick out a movie or a video game and get some popcorn right there and go home and just chill. They don't even know about that. And if you don't invest in technology today, matter of fact, you're left behind. If you didn't make the investment already, you already saw a dip. You know, and there's some churches out there. The first couple of weeks, months, you didn't have online giving, and we did, and we saw an increase, right? We saw an increase. So if you don't stick with the times and stay ahead of it, you will get left behind. And one of the things that I have realized is that the more you invest in and I don't want to say product, but in your ministry, right, the more you're going to get out of it, right? And it doesn't always have to be monetarily. It can also be sweat equity. Like, I don't know about y'all, and it's a different type of stress, but I'm still working, y'all. Like,
right.
And I ain't just chilling. Like, don't get it twisted. I'm working hard. I'm working as hard or harder than I was before. It's just a different type of work. I'm able to be around family. So I have some things that are pouring into me more that are lowering my stress levels, right? But we're working hard out here. And if you put the sweat equity in, then God's going to give you the increase.
Yeah.
I mean, what are we going to do? You going to get some Bible workers and go knock on the door with masks right now? Like, they're not opening their doors.
Right.
Come on, y'all.
Right. I want to agree with everybody, with George and what Crockett's saying. And I want to also understand this, that it's a day of reckoning that's happening for this church that should have happened a long time ago. Your main source of income can't be people's pockets with all that's happening in society. So there needs to be this, this removing of so many layers that will free up more money so that local churches can do work. You know, it's like the balcony and the dance floor. If you're on the balcony at a party and you're looking at the dance floor, it looks like everything is going well. But if you're on the dance floor, it's a totally different story. You're trying to get out of the party. And I think what happens in our church too often is that we operate from a balcony perspective and we're not listening to what's happening on the dance floor. And the only time the balcony cares about what's happening on the dance floor is when the music stops. Well, the music is stopping. And so the balcony needs to respond to what is happening, to this pivot that's been expressed of what's going on in society, and this shift in how because people start shifting, they start shifting dollars. When they start saying my church is doing more for me than my administration on the top is doing. And so I hope we are paying attention to trends, and I hope we're paying attention to what's happening. But there is this new movement that is starting from the grassroots. All of these ministries that are rising up, and people are just saying, this is what I'm gravitating to, less than what was there before. Normal is what ain't going back.
I love it.
And one thing that we have to acknowledge, I don't know what happened to anybody else's ministry, but I promise you, when I started doing Bloom and when people were getting fed, individuals who are not part of my congregation started sending me donations. I'm like, I have not asked for a donation. I don't make that part of my program, but people said, I believe in what you're doing. I want to sow into it. And so now we really don't have any excuse. I'm talking to the pastors, so let me just talk about my perspective. Y'all may not agree, but I'm okay with that. The conference is going to do what the conference is going to do, right? But as an individual worker, I have a choice now in this climate. Am I going to limit my ministry to what my conference is willing to fund? Or am I going to step out on faith and do what I feel that God is calling me to do? I am a living witness. I think the people on this call are witnesses as well. That when you step out, God provides. So I can't use now, my conference won't fund me. They won't let me do X, Y, and Z. Listen, they are where they are. They're not coming out here to see me. We're in quarantine. So now I can provide the ministry that I feel, blessed to be. And guess what? Now that Bloom is blooming,
Come on
They're
now.
like, oh, wow, Bloom, that is beautiful. Let's write a story on it. It has nothing to do with my church. I'm not doing it for my church, but because I'm a part of them, now it makes them look good. They're happy. You know what I'm saying? Do what God called you to do. And when you do what God calls you to do, he will provide the resources. And they're going to have to sink or swim and figure it out. But you do what you're called to do, and you'll be all right.
Right. I mean,
that's my classmate, y'all.
Listen, guys. We
brooming too, Lola. We brooming too. All right.
Yeah, we're gonna have to close this down, man. We have gone over our time. But before we end and before Dr. Henry takes us out on our hard close, I want each of you to just share with us a ministry that's online that you just want to give a shout out to because they're who they are. They have inspired you or you caught something. Just share with us, each of you, 30 seconds each. Iki?
Saltworks, they doing good stuff over there. Japheth and Sam Lenore and Tim, I catch their stuff on Saturdays. Yeah. They do a discussion. It's nice. Real good.
Saltworks, all right. Dr. Lola.
Man, Impact 7-7 has really gotten me. They're like a little family ministry out of New York. They just sit around a piano and sing, but they beat us to the pivot. Look, they beat us to the pivot. And they are doing great work, like 3,000 or 4,000 people with them. Impact 7-7.
Awesome. All right, Dr. George.
Hey, for me, I just literally I've been feasting on the quarantine revival, and I just love the fact that they're giving us Adventist messages, like we're talking about revelation, and it just teaches us that we don't have to compromise to be recognized, to use the words of Dr. Phipps. Yeah.
Awesome. Tim.
Humans of Adventism by Caleb Isby, based out of Portland. They're telling stories about people from all walks of lives, and I think that that's just something that a lot of people are resonating with. So
awesome. Dr. Alan Martin.
Adventist young professionals. There's a niche in the church. They don't have kids yet. They don't have a significant other that they're looking for. They're looking for a place to fellowship with folks, and it's growing worldwide, literally instantaneously. I'm going to add another one, Pastor Roger. Peek over the shoulder of your teenager or your junior high student. They're broadcasting already, friends. They're broadcasting already.
So true. Pastor Paul Graham. You on mute.
Mine is a one-man show, so to speak. I love Myron Edmonds' his platform.
Yeah.
I really enjoy his platform. I other than associate pastor or my admin pastor being there with me, I look at him like, my pastor, you know what I'm saying? When I want a word, I go there. So it may not be something like that, but when he goes on, man, I'm ecstatic,
Awesome. From down under, Sandra.
I think originally it was Jacqueline Jewell in California, who just sat at the piano and live, for 15 minutes, half an hour at a time, saying, taking favorites, taking requests. And I never really saw them live. I'd see them after, but the one time that I was on at the right time and heard her and got to type in my request, and just the feeling that, she's doing the song I've requested. And I just got to sing along and do duets with her that she didn't realize I was singing with her. It was just that nice warm fuzzy that thought, yep, I want to be able to help people sing and just have a nice time.
Awesome.
Beautiful.
Doc Shay.
Yeah, I want to shout out a big shout out. I got to bring my energy, man. A big shout out to my boy Austin Humphries, man. Him and Kajia, they have some dynamic ministries going on. The North Carolina Online Worship. They also have an Academy podcast. They hosted a 2K competition for for some teenagers, man. For those who don't know what 2K is, a video game, NBA 2K. And of course, one of our young people from First Church won and brought home the chips. So big shout out to Austin and Kajia.
Hey, Roger, as they do this, and those of you that have gone already, I think it may be great for our listeners, if they're not familiar with some of these ministries that you're shouting out, if you guys can just tag them in the YouTube chat, that'd be great, because I think some of the people may not be familiar with it, and we're trying to expose as many as give as many as we can.
That's right.
Pastor Paul, look, I'm blooming. Look, I'm.
I love it.
Awesome. Paul Bloom.
Bloom PG.
Dr. Ted, share with us who
Man,
you shout out.
I love kicking it 316, man.
Let's go.
Nah. But my friend from a long time, Xavier Lewis, he has a show called Throwback Praise, and we were on there. He's doing a great job. Everything from just listening. I think he had virtue on there. Then he did social justice. So he has a wide variety of things that he's doing. So Throwback Praise, Xavier Lewis, doing a great thing.
Awesome. Dr. Raise Your Voice himself, Dr. Jamie.
Oh man, there's so much out there, but I would probably go with Kirk Nugent. He does this show called How It All Works, and it's really like a teaching and basically how do you get started into the world of social media. So he's awesome, and shout out to everybody who's on this platform as well.
Yeah, definitely. Pastor Paul Anselm, you had someone else we were trying to get on here, and they couldn't make it, but they are a special ministry.
Yeah,
we got to give them a shout out.
Yeah, we got to give the Wakanda Seventh-day Adventist Church a huge shout out in terms of being a social media influencer. I think it's 11,000, and y'all got to pronounce her last name for me. But Saba, help me out.
Wampa.
Yeah. They're just doing a phenomenal job with that.
Yes.
And I got to throw out one more. And Paul, you got to help me out, Pastor Graham, because I'm trying to remember if this was you or your brother. But one of my very, very first inspirations with this kind of stuff was the croissant shop, baby. The croissant shop. That was Pat, or that was you?
Patrick.
Yeah. The croissant shop. And that was like what, almost 10, 11 years ago, 15 years ago when he was doing that. I know I'm telling my age a little bit, but I really appreciated what was going on with that.
All right, Dr. Henry, take us home, man.
Listen, I like quarantine, man. Quarantine.
Yes, sir.
Quarantine. Love it. But listen, we just appreciate you all coming on this. The topic was real. This is a shift. Not going back is whack. One person wrote on the comment there that normal is up. And so this is the move. This is what we're doing, and by the grace of God, it will inspire others to do the same thing, because from the different people out there on what the Lord has placed on their heart. Now listen, next week, can we talk about next week, Pastor Wade?
Yeah, definitely.
Listen, next week.
I
just want next week. We got to encourage you to come back on next week.
We may not have any jobs after next week.
We need to do a part two. We need to do a part two to this.
That's true, but it won't be next week.
I want to do next week, but let me just say this. Listen, I like the analogy. You got the people on the floor, you got the people on the balcony. And so the question I would ask, we're not going to answer it now, is what do we want to say to the people on the balcony? And that's another show.
That's the whole show. Yeah.
I'm not getting on that one.
I'm gonna quickly say this. Don't use that analogy anytime soon. Seeing that we're online now, I'm gonna preach that somewhere. That might be too late now. Pastor Jamie probably already hit that. But next week we're gonna be dealing with the topic Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter. We have a pastor coming from the Mount Rubidoux Church, Michael Kelly. And he's going to let us know what's happening in his church as he deals with this subject. He's going to deal with Black Wall Street. So he's coming on. Then we have another guest. Who's the other guest that's coming on?
We have with us Pastor Iva Meyers. Pastor Iva Meyers has blown up the internet right now with some of his views and his take on it, and it has opened up conversation. So we invited him to come and be with us next week. So he's planning to be here with us. So you don't want to miss it. If you were planning to miss next week, we like to say it this way: you should have missed this week and then be with us next week. But if you be with us next week, you're going to have another opportunity to share, sit at the pastor's round table, and be blessed.
Yeah, listen, we want to thank all of our guests that have been with us today. Just what a special contribution you've made to this discussion today. We know that it took time out of your schedules and all that to be with us, and we know all of you get invites to do this all over the place all the time. So to each and every one of you, we want to say thank you so much. For each of you who have joined us via Facebook or via YouTube, we thank you for the contributions, and our apologies. We couldn't get to all of your comments and whatnot, but we try to go back through and walk through them and be able to respond to them as best as we can. And we just to thank you for all of our listeners, for all of our participants today. I see Shay there grabbing the shoes, the gospel. Like, can we all, I think we all need to give a, let me get my.
Hey, I'm gonna just go on my slips.
I've only got socks
Listen,
on.
Lola, I saw you with that drip, Lola. Go, girl. I saw you.
Listen, we want to ask our viewers and maybe even our guests, go by our, you know what happened today? What happened today was that you helped our show, the Pastors Roundtable, go another notch higher. So I just want to thank you for that. Go on to YouTube and like us, please.
Subscribe.
You see, I don't even know all the terminology, but subscribe to the Pastors Roundtable. We are just so excited for what you're doing, and we want to be supportive of you, and we look forward to connecting down the road in ministry with you.
All right. Well, that's it for today. Again, thank you so very much. We're going to see you all on next Sabbath afternoon at 4:00. God bless you all. Have a great afternoon. They told me I had to play this outro video at the end. You guys still need me to do that?
It's up to you.
No, that's going
Surprise
to seem
us.
very self.
Play it.
Let's get it right. Let's get it.
All right, let's get it right here. All right, everybody. God bless.
Stay on, guests.
Yes, stay on, guests. We're going to do that. But we'll see everybody else next week. God bless. Have a wonderful time.
No sound.
Let's have a wonderful time. Let's